Hello students, in this session of chapter number 4, Molecular Basis of Inheritance, today we are going to learn an experiment carried out by two scientists. These were Messelson and Stahl. These scientists carried experiment to prove that the replication of DNA is a semi-conservative method. Then we are going to learn the central dogma of protein synthesis. In our previous session of this chapter, we have learned regarding the semi-conservative method of DNA replication. The semi-conservative method of DNA replication was proposed by scientists Watson and Crick. So, according to these scientists, the process of replication, that means DNA produces its exact copies, occurs inside the cell during the process of cell division. So it is called as semi-conservative method of DNA replication, as the newly formed two daughter DNA molecules show one old strand and one newly developed. So part of DNA is old, or it is called as part of DNA is conserved, while part of DNA is newly produced. Hence the newly produced DNA molecule has 50% old DNA and 50% new. Hence, the method of DNA replication is called as semi-conservative method. Then later on, the semi-conservative method of replication was proved by two scientists. They were Matthew Messelson and Franklin Stahl. So these two scientists carried an experiment in the year 1958 by using equilibrium density gradient centrifugation technique. In this technique, these scientists used isotopes of nitrogen during the process of DNA replication and finally came to the conclusion that the replication of DNA is a semi-conservative method. So here in this diagram we can see that this is the parent DNA and the two strands of parent DNA have separated or unwind from each other, and on these separated strands new strands are being produced. So on each old strand one new strand is produced. Here we can see that the old strand is shown in blue color, while the newly developed strand is developed in red color. So from a single DNA molecule, we can see that two daughter DNA molecules are produced. And in these two daughter DNA molecules, one strand, that is this one, is old strand, while the red one is a newly developed strand. So from this diagram we can see that part of DNA is old while part of DNA is new. We have already seen this process in detail in our previous session. So we are going to see the experiment carried by Messelson and Stahl to prove that the replication of DNA is one of the semi-conservative method of replication. Messelson and Stahl in the year 1958 performed an experiment to prove semi-conservative nature or mode of DNA replication. They cultured bacteria called as Escherichia coli in a nitrogen medium containing 14N. that is light nitrogen isotope, and obtained an equilibrium density gradient band by using 6 molar CsCl2, means cesium chloride, and then the position of the band, that is 14N, was recorded on the DNA. Then later on, the Escherichia coli cells were transferred to a nitrogen medium containing 15N, that is heavy isotopic nitrogen, and then the bacterial cells were allowed to regenerate or replicate for many generations, and then they were treated with 6 molar concentration cesium chloride. Then at equilibrium point density gradient band was obtained by treating with cesium chloride, and the position of this band, that is 15N, was recorded on the DNA. Here the DNA was first, or the cell of Escherichia coli was treated with 14N, that is light nitrogen isotope. Then these cells were then transferred to heavy isotopic nitrogen, that is 15N, or the medium contained heavy isotopic nitrogen, and the bands, that is 15N, was recorded. Then initially the band 14N was recorded, and then the bacterial cells or the cells of Escherichia coli were then allowed to replicate. We will see it in the next slide. The heavy DNA, that is 15N molecule, can be distinguished from the normal DNA by the process of centrifugation in a 6 molar cesium chloride density gradient. The density 15 gradient value of 6 molar cesium chloride and 15N DNA is almost the same. Therefore, at the equilibrium point, 15 DNA will form band. In these both the strands of DNA, 15N bands are found. So here in the first diagram, we see after the treatment of 15N heavy isotopic DNA with 6 molar CsCl2, that is cesium chloride, by the process of centrifugation. Hence, at the time equilibrium point, 15N DNA forms band on it. Here we can see after the treatment of this 15N DNA molecule with 6 molar CsCl2, the bands of 15N DNA were found on both these two strands. Then such cells of Escherichia coli bacteria were transferred to another medium containing 14N, that is light nitrogen, and here after the treatment the Escherichia coli bacteria were allowed to multiply, and then first generation was obtained. So in the first generation we can see the bacterial DNA with both, that is 14N DNA and 15N DNA. Then the bacteria were allowed to again multiply, and in the last diagram we see second generation, and in this second generation two different density gradient bands were found on the DNA. These were 14N DNA and 15N DNA at position. Then another one that is in 14n position. So these bands were found at different positions, that is density gradient bands, that is at 14n 15n position and another one at 14n position. So the position bands in the second generation proves that DNA replication is semi-conservative method. So here we can see that after the treatment, the 15n DNA, then it was again treated with 14n or light nitrogen. Then in the first generation, the DNA of Escherichia coli showed 14n as well as 15n DNA bands. Then they were again allowed to multiply, and then in the second generation, two bands were obtained at different positions, that is at 14n and 15n position, and other band was obtained at 14n DNA or 14n position. So in this way we have learned the Michelson and Stahl experiment carried with the help of Escherichia coli bacteria. And from this experiment, Michelson and Stahl proved that the method of DNA replication is a semi-conservative method. Now we will start the topic, that is protein synthesis. Now in 11th standard, you have already studied the different important biomolecules. So protein is one of the important biomolecules. Proteins serve as structural components. Then they act as enzymes and hormones. So proteins are present in different types of structures in plants as well as animals. For example, in animals, they form different components of muscles. Then they are present in different types of enzymes as well as hormones. Similarly, you know that all enzymes are proteins, but all proteins are not enzymes. So enzymes are essential to carry out different activities or different biochemical processes in living organisms. You know that enzymes act as catalysts. Now catalysts are the substances which accelerate the rate of reaction but do not directly take part in the process of the reaction. Then different kinds of hormones, they are present in plants as well as animals, help in the complete normal and healthy growth of an organism. So each and every cell needs to synthesize or to produce new protein molecules. The process of protein synthesis includes two main steps. The first one is transcription and the second one is translation. The process of copying of genetic information from one template or one of the DNA strand into a single stranded RNA transcript is termed as transcription. So in the process of transcription, from one of the DNA strand, a RNA is produced, that is messenger RNA is produced, and this process is called as transcription. So during the process of transcription, the synthesis of complementary or new strand of RNA takes place, except you know that the nitrogen bases present in DNA are of two types, purines and pyrimidines. Purines are of two types consisting of adenine and guanine, while pyrimidines are of two types consisting of cytosine and thymine. But in RNA, thymine is absent and thymine is replaced by uracil. So, during the process of transcription, that adenine nitrogen base pairs with uracil base instead of thymine. So, the production of new RNA on one of the DNA strand is called as transcription, and the actual process of protein synthesis which occurs inside the cell cytoplasm is called as translation. Now we will see the topic central dogma of protein synthesis or central dogma of molecular biology. The double-stranded DNA molecule gives rise to a RNA called as messenger RNA, and this messenger RNA acts as a messenger to program or to carry the process of synthesis of a polypeptide chain or a protein. This type of unidirectional flow of information from DNA to RNA and then to protein is called as central dogma of molecular biology or protein synthesis. It was first postulated or proposed by a scientist called as Francis Crick in the year 1958. So in this diagram we can see and or we can get an idea of central dogma of protein synthesis. Now you know that DNA is a double-stranded structure made up of two anti-parallel strands, and DNA duplicates itself or replicates with the help of an enzyme called as DNA polymerase, and this process occurs inside the nucleus of the cell and it is called as DNA replication. So from this one of the DNA strand or any one of DNA strand carries the process of transcription, that is with the help of an enzyme RNA polymerase. One of the strand of DNA produces a single stranded messenger RNA, and this messenger RNA is then transported to the cell cytoplasm where this messenger RNA comes to the ribosome, and inside this ribosome ribosomal RNA is present, and along with transfer RNA, messenger RNA carries the process of protein synthesis or it is called as translation. So it is one of the unidirectional flow, that is from DNA the information passes to the newly produced messenger RNA, that which type of protein is to be produced inside the cell. Then this messenger RNA comes to the ribosomal RNA present inside the ribosome, and along with transfer RNA brings amino acid molecules to the ribosomes. Then these amino acid molecules, here we can see the amino acid molecules. These amino acid molecules are linked with each other or joined to each other with the help of peptide linkage to form a long chain. It is called as polypeptide chain or we call it as protein. So in this way, the process of protein synthesis occurs in two main steps. The first one is transcription, that is production of messenger RNA from one of the DNA strand, and then the actual process where three types of RNA, that is messenger RNA, ribosomal RNA and transfer RNA, prepare a polypeptide chain and finally produce protein. So this central dogma of protein synthesis was first proposed by the scientist called as Francis Crick in the year 1958. Initially, we have seen the concept of central dogma of molecular biology or protein synthesis proposed by Francis Crick in the year 1958. Later on, or at present, the concept of central dogma in retroviruses or riboviruses was proposed by two scientists, Temin and Baltimore, in the year 1970. So the present concept of central dogma of protein synthesis is explained in this chart. So here we see that a DNA molecule by the process of transcription produces messenger RNA or single stranded messenger RNA is produced. Then this messenger RNA is transported from the nucleus to the cell cytoplasm, and inside the cell cytoplasm along with ribosomal RNA and transfer RNA, messenger RNA produces polypeptide chain, or it is also called as protein, by joining amino acid molecules with each other with the help of peptide bond or peptide linkage. So protein synthesis occurs in two main steps. The first one is formation of messenger RNA from DNA, called as transcription, an actual process which occurs inside the cell cytoplasm is called as translation. But in retroviruses or riboviruses, a process of reverse transcription may occur. That means it occurs in presence of an enzyme called as reverse transcriptase. From the messenger RNA, DNA is again produced. Hence, it is called as reverse transcription. So, this concept in retroviruses or riboviruses was given by Temin and Baltimore in the year 1970. So, in this session, we have seen two main topics. The first one was Michelson and Stahl experiment to prove that DNA replication is a semi-conservative method. Then we have seen the central dogma of protein synthesis or molecular biology. The remaining topics we will see in our next session.